Imagine an engine so ahead of its time that it was deemed too dangerous to exist. This is the story of the Dodge 440 an engineering masterpiece built for dominance, but silenced before it could truly dominate the car industry. A V8 beast with multiple carburetors, raw muscle, and groundbreaking performance, the 440 had the potential to rewrite the history of muscle cars. But instead, it was pulled from the market, hidden away like a secret too wild to be unleashed. So why was this powerhouse banned? The truth is more unbelievable than you think. It's the late 1960s, and the American muscle car wars are at their peak. Dodge was always the underdog in the race for horsepower supremacy, and they knew it needed something radical to compete. This brought about the introduction of the 440 an engine so ambitious it was destined to change everything. Built around a massive 440 cubic inch V8, it featured a triple carburetor setup, an audacious move that set it apart from the competition. But the six-pack wasn't just about size. It was a perfect mix of power and precision, designed to dominate not only the streets, but also the racetrack. However, before the invention of this massive engine, cars were in a never-ending cycle of weak engines. Back in the day, before muscle cars were a big deal, the car industry was all about practicality. Think big, heavy cruisers with boat-like handling, chrome everywhere, and engines built more for smooth sailing than raw power. In the 1950s and early 1960s, most American cars were designed with comfort and style in mind. Massive Cadillacs and Buicks ruled the highways, and performance wasn't exactly a top priority for the average driver. But that all started to change as the muscle car era began to take shape. By the mid-60s, young drivers wanted more than just a plush ride. They craved speed, power, and the thrill of raw horsepower under their feet. Automakers took notice, and suddenly, cars weren't just about getting from point A to point B. They were about how fast you could get there. This time, Ford introduced the Mustang in 1964, kicking off the pony car revolution, while Chevrolet answered with the Camaro and Pontiac with the Firebird. Dodge and Plymouth weren't about to sit on the sidelines. Chrysler's engineers were hard at work, creating bigger and badder engines to dominate both the streets and the drag strip. Enter the legendary 426 Hemi, a monstrous powerhouse that quickly became a favorite among racers and speed junkies alike. But for as mighty as the Hemi was, it came with a hefty price tag, making it inaccessible to the average buyer. That's where the 440 came in. Dodge needed something that could compete with the big block engines, but at a more affordable price. So in the late 60s, they rolled out the 440 cubic inch V8. It was a beast, pushing out a factory-rated 390 horsepower, though many suspected it was even more powerful in reality. This engine turned the Dodge Charger, Super Bee, and Plymouth Roadrunner into absolute street legends. This wasn't just another big engine, it was a monster. With 3 two-barrel carburetors feeding air and fuel like no engine had before, the 440 was built for more than just speed. It was engineered for endurance, capable of going toe-to-toe with the best Detroit had to offer. Chevrolet's 396, Ford's 427, none of them were ready for what Dodge had created. The six-pack didn't just compete, it crushed the competition with brutal torque and effective engine. But there was a problem. It was too powerful for its own good. The force of the six-pack shocked the racing world, catching the attention of rule makers who weren't ready for an engine this extreme. Dodge had built a legend, but some legends don't get to last. The 440 was about to be stopped in its tracks. The question was, could anyone tame the beast before it was too late? With 3 carburetors feeding a monstrous 440 cubic inch V8, this wasn't just another high-powered engine. Under the hood of the Charger and the Roadrunner, the six-pack was a revolution in the making. No longer did drivers have to choose between a street machine and a track weapon. The 440 did both effortlessly. It had the brutal acceleration to launch off the line like a drag racer, while maintaining the kind of control and refinement that made it unstoppable on the road. But this wasn't just about speed. This was about sending a message. Dodge knew that in the right hands, the six-pack wouldn't just win races, it would leave competitors in the dust. It was too good, too fast, and too powerful. Before it could truly change the game, it was pulled from the battlefield before it could claim its rightful throne. The first time the 446 pack came alive, Dodge engineers had spent endless hours perfecting this machine, but nothing could prepare them for what they had unleashed. The test drive was nothing short of electrifying. The car wasn't just fast, it was terrifyingly fast. The moment the pedal hit the floor, the engine responded with a surge of power so intense it pinned drivers to their seats. But then, something happened. As the car tore down the track, an unsettling realization set in. The power was almost uncontrollable. The six-pack didn't just go fast. It had a wild, unpredictable nature that made it feel almost dangerous. This wasn't just about performance. It was about unleashing something so powerful that even Dodge wasn't sure they could handle it. And soon, that power would become a problem for everyone. What made the 446 pack so special was the perfect storm of muscle, engineering, and innovation. While most V8s relied on a single 4-barrel carburetor, Dodge went a different route. 3 2-barrel carbs, a radical choice that changed everything. More airflow meant more fuel, more efficiency, and most importantly, more power. But the real magic wasn't just in brute force. With larger intake ports, a high-performance camshaft, and a finely tuned exhaust system, the six-pack wasn't just powerful, it was precise. Every ounce of fuel was maximized, delivering relentless acceleration and a non-stop surge of torque. But the story of the 446 pack didn't end there. Because when you create something this powerful, something this untamed, there will always be forces trying to shut it down. And that's exactly what happened. Built to endure the toughest conditions, it delivered brutal performance on both the streets and the racetrack. It was a perfect fusion of raw power and sophisticated engineering. When the 446 pack hit the streets, it changed everything. For the first time, Dodge had a weapon that could go toe-to-toe with the muscle car giants. With its high-level setup and monstrous 440 cubic inches of displacement, Dodge decided to rewrite history. The moment drivers stomped on the gas, they knew this was something different. It didn't just accelerate, it lunged forward with an unrelenting fury. But this wasn't just about street racing. The six-pack was designed to dominate the track too. With mind-blowing torque and lightning-fast acceleration, it was a serious threat in professional racing. The 446 pack had everything it needed to change the game: raw muscle, innovative design, and performance that left competitors in the dust. But just as it was ready to redefine racing, a massive roadblock appeared: the ban. By the early 1970s, Dodge's muscle cars were making waves, and racing authorities were getting nervous. The six-pack was already a monster on the street, and on the track, its dominance was undeniable. It wasn't a matter of if it would win, it was a question of how badly it would crush the competition. Rival manufacturers and racing officials feared Dodge's creation could completely shift the balance of power in professional racing. NASCAR in particular wasn't ready for this kind of disruption, and behind closed doors, the whispers of a ban started to grow. Was the 446 pack officially outlawed? The truth is far more complicated. While some believe NASCAR made an official ruling against it, the reality is buried in corporate politics, strategic maneuvering, and behind-the-scenes deals. The rapid advancements in engine technology had already put racing authorities under pressure to keep competition fair, and Dodge's triple carb setup was seen as a direct challenge to the status quo. Some say there was no formal ban, just an unspoken agreement among manufacturers and officials to rein in Dodge's growing dominance. Others argue that the six-pack was quietly pushed out before it could leave an even bigger mark on history. Whatever the case, one thing is clear: the 446 pack was too powerful to be ignored. And when a machine this unstoppable threatens to take over, there will always be forces working to shut it down. Despite the official story of its disappearance, there are rumors that the engine was never entirely forgotten. Behind closed doors, Dodge may have been working to keep its creation alive. not just as another engine, but as a legacy. After all, Dodge had invested too much time, money, and effort into the 446 pack to simply walk away. Some claim that blueprints and prototypes were quietly tucked away, hidden deep within the company's vaults, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Was this corporate secrecy, a strategic move, or something more? Perhaps the most shocking truth is this: the 446 pack's full potential was never realized. Instead of dominating the streets and racetracks for years to come, it was quietly pushed aside. A handful of cars carried its name, but it never got the widespread glory it deserved. But what if that wasn't the end? What if the 446 pack was just waiting for its chance to roar back to life? Let's be real. The 446 pack wasn't just fast. It was a monster. The engine's force made it a game changer, but it also made it dangerous. With every press of the pedal, the six-pack delivered an overwhelming surge of torque and horsepower, unlike anything else on the market. On the open road, it roared like a beast ready to dominate every inch of asphalt. But power like this had a dark side. The engine was originally designed to go head-to-head with the Chevrolet Camaro and Ford Mustang in the pony car segment. Though it's known as a powerful muscle car, Dodge actually classified the market segment as sports compact back in 1971. It's interesting to see how that term has evolved. After all, you wouldn't find a modern sports compact packing a massive 440 under the hood. The lineup started with the affordable Challenger Coupe, powered by a modest 198 cubic inch slant 6 engine, producing 125 horsepower. At the top of the range sat the high-performance RT model. The RT came standard with a 300 horsepower 383 Magnum V8. But this particular Challenger was ordered with a more potent 446 pack and a collection of drag racing upgrades. This car was built for speed, featuring a shaker hood scoop feeding fresh air to the 446 pack V8. Power sent through a 727 automatic transmission with a high-stall torque converter and a Dana 60 rear end with 4.10 gears puts that power to the pavement through wide F6015 tires. It's a recipe for pure fun. While the legendary 426 Hemi often steals the spotlight, the 440 was an excellent choice for those who wanted a durable, high-torque big block that could handle daily punishment. The cast iron heads and intake allowed for strong airflow, making for quick acceleration. Exhaust gases exited through low-restriction manifolds and dual pipes, while the optional shaker hood scoop helped funnel in cool air for better performance. Backing the powerhouse engine is a 3-speed torque automatic transmission, shifted from the floor, and a Dana 60 rear axle with a limited slip differential and 4.1-to-1 gears, perfect for launching hard off the line. With this setup, the Challenger RT was built to dominate both the street and the strip. Meanwhile, the original 1971 Dodge Challenger RT came with 14-inch wheels, but this one sits on Goodyear Polyglass GT F60-15 tires wrapped around stamped steel wheels, possibly similar in size to those found on heavier Mopars. Even with rear suspension upgrades, those tires have no trouble spinning under hard acceleration. Right off the showroom floor, a new 1971 Challenger RT with the 446 pack was capable of running low 14-second quarter-mile times. And, like many muscle cars of the era, it responded incredibly well to performance tweaks. Stickier tires, ignition tuning, headers, and other go-fast mods could get it into the 12s with just a weekend of wrenching. The Challenger RT also benefited from a more rigid structure, thanks to convertible-style torque boxes and steel reinforcements. Up front, it had stiffer torsion bars and a beefy sway bar, while the rear suspension featured heavy-duty springs. Firm ride shocks were available as an upgrade for those who wanted an even sportier feel. Inside, the Challenger's cabin feels a bit more spacious compared to a Mustang or Camaro. This one is outfitted with rally gauges, a clock, and a floor-mounted torque flight shifter in the center console. Creature comforts are minimal. A simple cabin heater is the only real convenience feature, and the windows are operated by classic crank handles. Only 121 Challenger RTs were built with the 446-pack for 1971, making this a rare machine. While its dimensions are similar to a Mustang or Camaro, it has a more imposing presence. The bold V6 V-code Dayglow orange stripe isn't just a styling accent. It's more like a muscle car's version of caution tape. A deck-lid-mounted spoiler enhances the aggressive look, while the black steel wheels and hubcaps give it a no-nonsense, street brawler stance. However, the Challenger was not the only car with this type of engine. Back in 1969, Chrysler decided to shake things up with a new powerhouse under the hood, the 440 V8 with 3 two-barrel carburetors. Plymouth called it the 446 BBL, and it was a game-changer. It packed nearly the same punch as the legendary HEMI, but at a fraction of the cost. While upgrading to the 426 Hemi would set you back a hefty $700, the 446 BBL was a steal at just $119. The first Plymouth to rock this beast was the 69.5 Roadrunner, and it turned out to be a massive hit, outselling the Hemi-equipped versions by 2 to 1. The rarest and most collectible ones today? The A12-coated 1969 models. Even though Roadrunner production dipped from 1969 to 1970, the 446 BBL models became even hotter. Between 1969 and 1971, Plymouth cranked out 4,189 of these bad boys, more than doubling the number of Hemi-equipped Roadrunners. Plymouth built the Roadrunner to be a no-frills, affordable muscle car, and the 446 BBL was perfect for it. A budget-friendly beast that could take on just about anything on the street. Just like the Chrysler, the Dodge Super Bee was built for one thing: pure, unfiltered speed. It was Dodge's no-nonsense muscle car, designed to go fast without the fancy extras. It was the first in Dodge's lineup to get the legendary 446-pack engine, also known as the A12 package. Based on the Coronet, the Super Bee had a few styling tweaks, including some mean-looking sheet metal, and of course, those iconic bumblebee stripe decals. But this car was all about performance over polish. It came with unpainted steel wheels and an enormous hood scoop to force-feed air into its beastly V8 engine. And boy, did it move, hitting the quarter mile in just 13.6 seconds, barely a blink slower than a Hemi-powered Coronet RT. While it didn't sell quite as many units as the Plymouth Roadrunner, the Super Bee held its own, especially when it came to 446-pack sales. Of all Dodge's muscle machines with that powerhouse under the hood, the Super Bee was the undisputed queen bee of the hive. The 446-pack had so much raw power that it could overwhelm its chassis, making it difficult to handle at high speeds. Compared to its more refined competition, it was almost too wild, too unpredictable, and that made it a liability. Then, there was its impact on racing. The 446-pack wasn't just built to win, it was built to dominate. In an era where precision was just as crucial as power, this engine was a wild card. It didn't just threaten the competition, it had the potential to erase it. And that was something the racing world wasn't ready for. But what if the ban wasn't just about racing rules or corporate decisions? What if it was a cover-up? A way to protect the biggest players in the automotive industry from an engine they couldn't control. Some say Dodge secretly stashed away blueprints, prototypes, and engineering notes, detailing the true extent of the engine's power. The 446-pack wasn't just another race engine. It was a blueprint for an entirely new era of muscle cars. But was the world ready for it? As the 1970s rolled in, the golden age of muscle cars was under threat. The government started cracking down on emissions. Insurance rates for high-performance cars skyrocketed, and fuel economy became a growing concern. By 1972, stricter regulations and rising gas prices meant the days of unrestricted horsepower were numbered. The 446-pack was among the casualties, effectively banned as new emissions laws took effect. And just like that, an era ended. Muscle cars never truly disappeared, but they were never quite the same after the government stepped in. Despite being sidelined, the 446 pack never faded into obscurity. While other engines have come and gone, the six-pack remains one of the most legendary and mysterious creations in muscle car history. Even today, it continues to inspire collectors, racers, and muscle car users alike. But here's the thing. While the engine may not have had the mass production run it deserved, its legend never died. Those who experienced its power firsthand never forgot. And maybe, just maybe, the 446 pack is still out there, waiting for its chance to rewrite history once again.